So, okay, so again, welcome and thank you for being a part of this. We found out last year that having hearings to discuss such things as votes coming to the floor were helpful to discuss those things beforehand. This year, though, we do not have anything from the Constitution coming. We do not have any, as far as changes, we do not have any resolutions or memorials coming this year to discuss. So the main bulk that we have is the election process and the budget that we'll talk about tonight. But first, with having a few new voting members on tonight, just want to make sure you're aware that as we start first thing Friday morning, registration does take place in Weber Chapel on Susquehanna University campus. And that's where you get your name tag, meal tickets, and any other information we have for you. All of the business sessions take place in Weber Chapel. All of the meals and workshops will take place in Degenstein building, right across the road from Weber. So we're all in one location, which is easy. And if you get or have any questions, please do not be afraid to ask anyone. But we're grateful to have new voting members participate and be a part of this. Some of the other basic things that we have sent out to folks is to please do your best to be registered and in the chapel before 8:30. That is when our opening word and service, worship service begins. But what we also are taking note is that by 8:45, our churchwide rep wants our registration numbers to close. So we have that number for our very first election ballot. So we have to have that closed down for half an hour so we can go by the 8:45 number of voting members who are present and able to vote. After that first vote, the ecclesiastical vote is taken, registration opens up again. So it's for that very first thing. So it's important for a couple reasons. You get there so that you can be a part of that very first vote, the ecclesiastical vote, and also that we have a quorum. So on paper, we have a quorum. We just need bodies to be present too. So that's an important piece for the very, very beginning piece. As far as meal tickets, as most of you know, registration had a deadline. Word also went out this week on the website and communications that folks can still register. When it comes to getting meals, though, if you want to eat lunch or be part of the banquet, well, if you want to eat lunch, let's put it that way, on campus, you can still go into the dining hall, but you need to use a credit card. The campus does not use cash. So that way, anyone from here on who is registering plans to stay through lunches, then they can still eat on campus. Otherwise, you're always welcome to go walk downtown and eat. But there you need to watch your time. Workshop materials will be coming out shortly. We're getting the descriptions of most of those. But like I said, all those will take place inside Degenstein campus theater or campus. If you're familiar with Degenstein, the dining hall, if you're looking straight into the dining hall, there are meeting rooms off the hallway to your left, and that's where all the workshops will be. On the hallway off to the right, on the far end, we will have 2 bookstores. Sandy Greer will be there with books, and Pastor Mike Ziegler will be there with books. So you have those options on the side. Trying to think if there's any, do any of you have specific questions about just some of the basics of Synod assembly? If you do, raise your hand, because I can see everybody now. I am not noticing any hands up. Okay. So,
I
Yep.
had one question.
yeah, Pastor
do you-
Robertson.
Do you still need us to encourage people to attend? Do you still need more voting members? I've only have one from our church right now. I haven't been able to find another.
You know, at this point, we're always, welcoming more voting members. It's just that they are aware that they need to, if they're going to have a meal, they need to have a credit card to purchase that meal on their own.
Okay.
Also, the next thing we want to talk about is the Vivox Voting App, which we used last year. We're using it again because on the evaluations last year, it was highly recommended by voting members to please use it again. So we are doing that. I have been assured by Susquehanna University that the volume of us in Weber Chapel using devices of all sorts will not override the system. So there's your first prayer when you come into the assembly hall. You pray that we do not override the system. But a reminder, every voting member needs to have their own voting device, whether it's a cell phone or an iPad or even a laptop with them. You need to have something. Yes, Deacon Shelley. Unmute. There.
Yes, I know. I figured it out. I was just going to add that there will be a handful of extra devices, and we do have a junior tech person to help people who are struggling getting onto the voting app.
Absolutely. So yeah, I know a couple people are bringing extra devices. And just in case somebody's device for whatever reason isn't working right, we can switch out. We're also going to use the process, if you're familiar with the voting cards we've used in the past, the green card for yes, and affirmative, and the red card for no. We're going to use those red cards for anyone who is in need of help with their voting device. So we have that access. So you don't just have to yell or raise your hand. You can put up that red card. We should be able to see that easily and know that one of our assistants can come and help you out and see what's going on. But that is most important for all voting members, is to have an app. And we're going to practice that a little bit here tonight. I was thinking of something else to share with that. We're going to practice it at the beginning of the first session too, of assembly, just to make sure that everything is working, so that it eases your bishop's mind. We will also have on standby paper ballots for the first ecclesiastical ballot. It's not that I don't trust technology and the app or Susquehanna University, but we want this to be as smooth sailing as possible. And if we get too many glitches with the first vote, we have paper ballots ready to hand out for that ecclesiastical ballot. So Shelby, you want to put us through some tests with your device if you have your voting device?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have your voting device with you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the session ID and everything that Craig is putting up there. So it's a little bit I don't want to say easier, but so that you can all see it. Just give me a moment. So, and I do have 3. There you go. Hopefully you can all see that. Gives you the information. And then as soon as I get the thumbs up from Bishop Collins that everyone is okay. Yep. Oh, there is a session passcode. Thank you, Ally. The session passcode I'm going to put into the chat, and it is June 2022 is our session passcode for tonight. That's so we can practice putting in a passcode like we will have to do at Synod Assembly.
You want to start the session, Shelby?
Yes,
Hold
that
on.
would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah.
the session ID, when I'm trying to put in those 9 letters, it's not allowing.
You should be able to now. That was just my dumb. I haven't worked this since last year, you know? So now you should be able to.
Okay, that worked. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to hit a button. Sorry there, Terry.
Okay, so you will always be given that session ID, and just so that we don't have an experience like we had 10 minutes ago, this session number will be printed on the back of your name tag. You will always have it right there as long as you have your name tag. So
And the
where you're gonna
session
find
ID,
it.
yeah, the session ID for Synod Assembly will be different. Each session has a different ID. So, and the password code for Synod Assembly will be on the back of your ID too. We're not going to give that out before the start of Synod Assembly.
There we go.
And Laura has a raised hand.
Yeah, Laura.
Okay. You didn't bring your phone with you. Sorry, Norma and I are trying to stay in separate rooms, but neither one of us know how to bring up our keypad on this to type in the numbers. So what are we supposed to do?
What type of device are you using?
We're using our cell phones. It's a Samsung A50. So, and of course, so you can tell this is the first time we have done this.
Yeah. So try tapping on the space where it's asking for the session ID.
Okay, let me get you back where we're supposed to be.
This is why we'll have some tech support on site in case we don't figure this out tonight.
Okay, now I gotta get you back to where we were.
The session ID is the 9-digit number,
Correct.
Yes, it is.
and the passcode is June 2022.
Yes,
Is it all capitals? Because I tried to put it in and it wouldn't take.
it is not all capitals. It is lowercase only.
Okay, it told me I have an incorrect passcode. Now what do I do?
Should be JUNE
Where do I
2020.
put it? Okay,
It should. I haven't had that happen before. Can you click again? Does it give you a chance to re-enter, Ted?
I hope I just did. And I push OK.
Yep.
I'm in on this one now, and I'm in on this one. Right?
Oh, I'm there. Be
Okay.
still my soul.
And again, to read it, whatever problems we have tonight, we will have people on hand in Synod Assembly to be right there helping you.
I'd like to get
So
on.
Laura, did your keypad come up?
Did mine? Yes.
No, if Laura's did.
I'm having problems yet, and so is Norm. I finally got it back to where I needed the screen, but we're both having problems, so I'm sorry. You
Okay.
keep going. we'll get it.
So,
You know.
so let's make sure that we get somebody with you first thing on Friday morning at the assembly, if we don't have a way of figuring it out before then.
Okay.
All right, good.
Craig, Ally's standing here with a thumbs up saying she will help the Phelps when we get
Make
there.
note of those names, Ally.
Laura and
I'm good.
yeah, so Laura and Norm Phelps, so.
Yep.
We'll take care of it. All right, keep going.
Okay, so I'm gonna start our first poll, which is, are you a night owl or early bird? And you're going to type your answer in. And this will be similar to how we do the ecclesiastical ballot of being able to type in.
Okay, where doesn't let me type though. I can't get it. Not getting a, that one does.
Where are you?
No. I'm here. This is the,
But this is a picture of her page. You're not, this is
oh,
where
there
you
we
are.
go.
So as you can see on the screen share, this is not what you will see at the assembly, but this is what Shelby is watching, and you can see, she can see a count of how many people are connected to the app and how many submissions have come in. So there, you can see 25 of 30 have responded to this question. And that will be her way of knowing, especially if we get stuck like this on a number for a long time, she'll say, okay, we've got all of our submissions, or. So you
Or I should say, Sue Rothmeyer will tell me when to close.
That's true. Some of the votes
Especially the-
close that way, yeah.
Just make
So
sure
we're-
you hit send.
So we're at 29 of 29. If it's okay with Bishop Collins, I'm gonna go ahead and end this and push the results out. So. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm really not this. So it should come on to your, it didn't come on.
Do it again.
See, I have the tech person next to me because I don't know why this is not doing what. Too many people, your remarks.
So it's okay because we're not going to push the results of the
Yeah,
ecclesiastical.
ecclesiastical ballot anyhow. So, sorry
Okay.
guys, I'm having internet issues. It can happen to everyone. So I'm gonna go on to the next one, which again is to practice our text box and entering in names.
No. Someone to eat or someone to have dinner with?
Have dinner with. I knew you were gonna come up with that, Ted.
Somebody mute Ted.
Only 10. Only 10.
I was trying to think outside of the box. This is what I get for it.
That's your lesson for trying to think.
It's a fair question.
It is.
What'd you say?
Julia Childs.
Julia Childs?
Why not?
Okay.
And again, when it comes to the ecclesiastical ballot, this will go on until the person running the election who was our secretary of the EOCA and our churchwide rep tells me to close it. All right, we're at 30 of 31, Bishop, so if you're okay, I'm gonna stop. And we're gonna go on to the next poll, which is just a simple multiple choice, which will be how we do all of the other elections from Synod Council to the rest of the bishop elections. Oh, why does this not like me today?
Click on the questions. And hit the third one.
There we go. And Ted, I don't take responsibility for this question.
She came up with the questions, not me.
Karen has her hand raised.
Yeah, Karen.
So I'm noticing on this that when you click one of the multiple choice, it instantly registers. Is there any way to have it click and then approve your vote? What if I accidentally click on
And that's
the
when they're,
top thing that I didn't want to click on, basically? Like, what happens then?
until I close the
Oh, you can
vote,
clear.
you can hit clear and re-vote.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
No, that's a good question. All right. So we're gonna end it. Mhm. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Mhm. So. And then what will happen with those votes is then when I'm told to that I can push the results through, those who were on last year will remember that they came to your phone, but Bishop also announced them from the stage too. Oh.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions? And to answer Craig's question, yes.
Craig had a question.
To me.
Okay, got it. All right, so like I said, we will have practice sessions again, first thing with Synod Assembly after the worship. So that we know if there are problems, we can have folks on standby to help resolve those things. The bishop's election has a unique process with multiple votes. As we've been saying, that first vote is the ecclesiastical ballot, where you get to write in the name of any rostered person of word and sacrament. Almost got you, Shelby. Word and sacrament. So any pastor across the ELCA's name can go in there. And what is always asked is that to the best of your ability, you spell their name correctly. For our own rostered leaders in this synod, on the website is you will also have with assembly materials an entire listing of all the rostered members of this synod if you need to check out spellings, but do your best. Or if you know that somebody has a nickname also such, and we've been using Dutch Rinker as our example. So Dutch, who is now clergy, he could be put down as Dutch Rinker, or he could be put down as Harold Rinker. So we need to recognize when people are using alternate names. So please do your best to write the person's official name on there. It'll help the elections committee. So that ecclesiastical ballot, everybody's name who's put on there comes to the to the assembly then to say, these are your nominees. And then those folks have the opportunity to pull their name off of the ballot. They have about an hour and a half, I think, to do that. So that for the second ballot, we will only have the names listed of those who have agreed to stay on the ballot from the nominating ballot. And so then that's a vote for on the second ballot. After that, it moves to the top 7 candidates. And those candidates will be given an opportunity, like 5 minutes on stage, to introduce themselves, to say just a little bit about themselves. And so then we vote again. And then that narrows it down to the top 3 candidates. Those top 3 candidates are given questions to think about overnight. I believe it's just 2 that they can write formal responses to, at least start thinking about it. When we get together Saturday, then there will be time on stage to get to know the candidates, and they will each answer those questions. And then there will be rounds of quick fire questions presented to them. So they'll have to think off the tops of their heads. But it'll give us a chance to hear what they have to say, what they want to share with us, to get a better discernment of who to vote for. That vote, if we do not have somebody with 60% of the ballots cast, then it goes to the top 2, and then it's immediate. When you get to the top 2, it's an immediate vote afterward to cast for the new bishop, and that is just a majority for that last one. So we start with however many people pull their names. We have all those folks, and it gets down to 7, and it gets down to 3, and if need be, down to 2, and then you have an elected bishop. And there are percentages all along the way. If somebody has 75% on the very first ecclesiastical ballot, bingo, we're done. They're bishop. So, and Deacon Sue Rothmeyer will be running that election process along with Pastor Rinker. He is our election chair for that portion. So they will be on stage, and they will be the ones announcing who the candidates are and who is moving forward and who elected. So, and I just sit in my chair and applaud. So, any questions with the election process? It is a time of discernment for everybody, not only those names who are put forward, but for all of us sitting there listening and learning what the Spirit is saying to us for who to call next as the 4th bishop of this synod. So I'm not seeing any hands or questions.
There is a question in the chat as to whether there would be charging stations in the hall or nearby. I think there are outlets around.
Yeah, outlets. I'm not familiar with exactly where they all are. Can we note to ask Jonathan about that?
I'll send him an email when we're done and ask him.
I know there are places to plug in Dagenstein. I just had that conversation with SU today, especially around where the Starbucks is, and don't get excited because Starbucks always closes down while we're there. But there are outlets. Yeah, I know there are outlets there. So I guess they just don't want us to get keyed up on coffee while we're in assembly. I don't know. All right, so now I'm going to, unless there's other questions, I'm going to turn things over to our Upper Susquehanna Synod Treasurer, Pastor Chad Hebrink, who always, yeah, Shelby, what?
No, I'm going to excuse myself, unless there's anything else for me, and Bishop and Craig, you can email me if there is.
Yep.
Thank you
We're good.
all. All right.
We're good. Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
So Pastor Hebrink, share us the good news about our budget.
Okay, thank you. You can find the budget documents on the Synod Assembly website, number 110 under the Synod Council recommendations. We'll let you rotate that there for our view.
There we go.
There will actually be two different votes. One of them is an amendment to the budget for the current fiscal year. You adopted that budget last summer at Synod Assembly in our online assembly for the fiscal year that began February 1st, 2022 and goes through January 31st, 2023. Just some minor tweaks to that budget in amending that, bringing income down by $1,750. You'll see this in the amended budget column that is right where the cursor is, right there. And then on the expenses, just some pieces based on actual or new contracts or agreements we have received updated information since last June. The net effect of everything is a positive result in the budget amendments in the amount of $4,950. Not a lot of items related to that amendment. Are there questions about those amendments? I will move forward then to the proposed budget for 2023, the fiscal year that will end January 31st, 2024. Couple comments before we go through what changes in the budget. It's a relatively very flat budget compared to the current budget. The two pieces probably are bigger unknowns in this budget than other budgets we prepared in recent years. One of them relates to the fact that we are doing a bishop's election, and that can bring with it different pieces in terms of some of the salary structure and what the needs for healthcare benefits and so forth would be, depending on who those staff members are. The second piece is the Synod Council has authorized and appointed a relocation task force that has us looking and exploring the piece of selling the current existing office building. And then we would be looking to rent facilities. So for this budget, and I'll get to it when we get to the property section at the bottom, I'll explain. I've just basically left things in similar numbers in total, but expecting that there would be some changes there with a relocation. So starting on page 1 at the top in the revenue section, the only change there is that a decrease in income of $7,500. We had a special piece in the current budget related as a transfer coming from restricted funds towards transition expenses related to the bishop transition. Because that occurs in the current fiscal year, it doesn't happen in the upcoming budget. In the church-wide support, we make a change there in that for the current budget, we are sharing 40% of each dollar that the Synod receives as mission support with the church-wide organization. This budget proposes making that number 41%. So an increase of 1% in the amount that is shared with the churchwide organization. There are not any other changes on the remainder of page 1. There are no real changes on page 2 or page 3. On page 4, you'll see an increase in some expenses related to the audit under administration. And that's based on what the actual cost of the audit was for the current year. In the building maintenance expenses, you'll see that we decreased them about $950. You will see that things are moved to building maintenance. I would see part of that being used as rent rather than, you'll see the depreciation expense moves to 0. That's assuming a sale of the building. Overall, I would see that there will be some fluctuation as more information would be determined during the year, but that we would not be seeking to spend any more than in that building maintenance expense section. But within those lines, there could be some movement back and forth based on a relocation. In the staff salary section, each one of those budget lines has been increased by 3%. Based on, part of that will actually be based on depending on who's serving in those positions. For the sake of the budget, as we were preparing things beginning last November, we made a piece of increasing each line by 3%. On page 5, you'll see a corresponding 3% increase on many of the staff benefits and a 5% increase related to healthcare and pension costs. In the very bottom section, Synod Council, there are 2 things that are happening in this current fiscal year that do not happen in the upcoming budget year. The churchwide assembly only occurs once every 3 years, and the bishop transition expenses are only occurring in the current year. The budget that is presented for you shows a surplus of income over expenses in the amount of $1,480.91. We'd be pleased to answer any questions or comments that you have about the proposed budgets.
I'm not seeing any hands.
I'm not either. I don't see anything in the chat. So just a reminder that anything that is a proposed budget change by the rules of the assembly requires it to be neutral to the budget so that it cannot create a deficit or create more expenses. You have to have an offsetting, either decrease another expense if you want to increase a line, or propose where more income would come from. So thank you, Bishop Collins.
Thank you. Yeah, we've given up presenting deficit budgets to Synod Assembly. We like to keep it on the good, right? So, and a lot of appreciation to the fiscal management team, Pastor Hebrink. They do a lot of work, and this year, because it's transition, there are a lot of unknowns. So, giving us the best budget predictions as possible. Not only the transition with the bishop's election, but the transition with the building. So there's a question for you. Chad, could examples of the transition expenses for the bishop be given?
Some of those pieces, many of the staff members, or actually all the staff members of the synod, serve at the piece of the bishop, at the pleasure of the bishop. So there could be transitions of other staff members. With that, I believe that there could be some overlap in that I think we are expected to pay benefits and salaries for 2 months for any current people that are leaving office. If the bishop were someone that we're needing to move to the synod, there would be moving expenses. That would be an expectation to pay that. Sometimes just the technology needs or things related to that have also been a piece. For example, 6 years ago, Bishop Collins, upon coming in, decided to move and switch in the synod office, which room was the bishop's office and which room was the conference room. So with that, and I think those were covered in a different way, bits and pieces needed for different wall furnishings, painting, changing carpet. Sometimes they need a new laptop, different pieces of technology. So a number of different things that could be a part of that transition. A small part of that will be sort of a farewell piece for Bishop Collins. Installation service for the incoming bishop. Does that give you a range of what things would be there?
Okay, good. And it's interesting that Shelby gave us a pizza question because the celebration that the transition team is coordinating will take place out at Camp Mount Luther on August 27th, and it is a pizza party. We are just going to sit and enjoy, and you just kind of chill for a while out at the camp. So we will be looking for people to register, reserve, whatever, so we know how many are coming. So just keep that date in mind. The other date to keep in mind is September 17th. It is Saturday. That is when the new bishop will be installed at Zion Lutheran in Sunbury. So 2 dates, the 27th of August for a party and the 17th of September for the installation service. So any other questions that you have related to assembly in particular? Brenda, go ahead, sir.
Are there handouts done at Synod or given at Synod assembly?
Everything will be available on the website. And what Chad Hirschberger typically does is say, these are the materials you need to have for reference for voting. Okay. Again, this year we don't have that much of that material. And everything you can read online. We are, I just talked with Brenda today, most likely have information about the workshops available and extra agendas on the table. But we typically do not print everything out anymore to save on the paper expense. And I know Brenda said she had a couple more reports to complete. Those are the reports that she has to wait till numbers come in before she can complete them. So I'm anticipating that all the reports, all the paperwork, everything that's needed for Synod Assembly will be online by next week. So just check in on the website for that. There we go. Yeah, the essentials is what Chad has them listed. So the budget would be in there, and the nominees. So we have election for Synod Council members coming up. That's pretty much the only other election taking place. So in some ways, it's a slight business, easy business year. In other ways, it's not, because you're electing a new bishop. So that takes a lot of paying attention and, as I said, discerning the Spirit's call. So I do appreciate all of you taking the time tonight to be a part of this. And if you have any questions between now and assembly, please do not hesitate to contact us at the office. Either Brenda, Craig, or myself, and see if we can help you out before you actually come. All right. Anything else? Pastor Miller, can you think of anything else?
I cannot. I think you've covered it.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you so much, folks, for being present. And if you hear of anyone who said, I didn't make it on there, tell them that this recording will be available for them, so that they can hear what was going on, and especially hear the pieces about the budget. So looking forward to seeing you all on the 17th. Be good. Take care.